It is fight day. UFC 271 is tonight, and we are here to break down the DFS slate for this fight card here on Live Before Lock. Of course, if you got any questions, line those up in chat. We will get to those as we do go on. Of course, if you do leave a super chat, your question will jump to the top of the queue. Always do appreciate when people do sit in their super chats. Of course, the news over the last 24 hours in regarding to this card, we lost one fight yesterday. Alex Perez, who stepped on the scale pretty early in the weigh-ins. He was one of the first five or so fighters to step on the scale. He misses weight by 2 pounds. Matt Schnell makes weight. He elects that he is not going to take the fight, and you listen to his comments after the fact. You understand why he did not take that fight, basically saying, hey, I don't want this guy to have 25 pounds on me when we step into the cage on fight night. And then, of course, the other thing was William Knight misses weight by 12 pounds. Maxim Grishin made a weight prior to William Knight stepping on the scale. Maxim Grishin says, yeah, I'll take the fight. He is getting 40% of William Knight's salary here, which I kind of did some rough math. It's a decent amount of money that he is going to get here. William Knight on Instagram had a message for the haters where he said, I tried my best on short notice. Definitely not the kind of fighter I am. And it definitely won't happen again. Crazy. I turned into the bad guy trying to save a fight on short notice. I'm happy the real snakes have shed their skin today. I'll remember this moving forward for sure. God has blessed me with this as a lesson. I'm definitely make sure I do better next time. Fight is still on tomorrow, 8 p.m. It's now a heavyweight matchup. So let me bring in the fighter, Pete Rogers Jr. Pete, here's my issue with this situation. The fact is, it wasn't like an hour before you step on the scale, you knew you weren't going to make weight. My ultimate question is, was there ever a call from William Knight's team made to the UFC to let him know? If that call never happened, I'm sorry, bro. This was strategy not to let Maxim Grishin know when he was cutting weight.
Yeah. What's up, people? What's going on? And I would agree with you, man. It's a dirty regional trick. You and I spoke about it, and I understand how William Knight took the fight on short notice, only a couple weeks to prepare. Listen, if you're helping the UFC out trying to fill a card, they will help you out and get you the weight that you want to accept it at. You know what I mean? Like, you could have easily made this a catch weight bout. And even if that wasn't possible at the beginning, as the fight gets closer, the last thing that either parties want is a fight to be canceled. So a catch weight would have made a lot of sense for an opponent that has fought at the heavyweight division. But all in all, I just found it quite ironic how on the card where Israel Adesanya is on it and how he's been vehemently against, people missing weight, and you had multiple issues with it. And I just remember hearing that that mic'd up portion where Adesanya is talking to Dana White about how they need to punish fighters more and take a larger percentage and yada, yada, yada. So I just found it quite ironic that of all cards, they're going to do it on the Israel Adesanya card. So yeah, man, you guys got to make weight. And, if the call never came in, it could definitely be strategic because Maxim Grishin is a huge guy for the division. Definitely is. He's been a heavyweight in the past. So, we'll have to see how that affects his performance. I mean, William Knight always looks good on the scale. He's a monster. The issue with him is his stature. He has way too much, weight and muscle for a guy his height. He probably should be at 185 pounds, but in order to do so, he would have to lose a tremendous amount of muscle.
No question about it. Of course, we are sponsored by PrizePicks. Of course, later on in the show, we'll talk about PrizePicks. I hope you jumped on that fight time, Izzy Adesanya, that I mentioned on Thursday, because if you did not, you missed out on that line, as people clearly pounding the under in that one. Of course, as always appreciate the support that we get here on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up button. Also, if you're not subscribed, also be sure to do that so you get you see when all of our shows are here live on the channel. Of course, all of our video on demand content as well. And of course, if you're not also a Plus member and you want to see what is behind the paywall, today's free premium data and tools include UFC pro plays, NBA ownership rankings, and NHL top sacks. Also, we have our Super Bowl giveaway going on right now over on Twitter at Awesemo_com. You just got to reply whether you think Joe Burrow or Matthew Stafford will have more passing yards and follow the instructions on the graphic of how can be entered for a chance to win a year plus of Awesemo plus Platinum. You got to take advantage of that. That's a $1,000 value. So be sure to check out that over there on our Twitter handle at Awesemo_com. So me and Pete have been texting all day here about where we go. And part of our conversation was ultimately about the under 7,300 on DraftKings and ranking these guys. And first off, I'll give a little teaser here. Pete has been doing a lot of deep diving on Mana Martinez.
I sure have, man, because each week there's always a fighter we're not talking about, and there's always some unexpected upset that really just throws the entire slate for a loop. And last week, the first fight of the night really screwed up the majority of my lineups and most people's lineups because he seemed like the UFC newcomer was in a smash spot against a guy who was extremely, liable to get knocked out. You're not durable, pretty brittle in Malcolm Gordon. So I'm trying to find somebody in this price range that we like and we can get behind. And newsflash, they're all ugly. They're all hideous options outside of Tai Tuivasa. So below Tai Tuivasa, you have Fabio Cherant at 7,300, Silva de Andrade 7,200, Blood Diamond 71, Whittaker 7, Mana Martinez 6,900, Rojo 6,800, Modafferi 6,700. The more I started to dive into each one of these guys and see how they could pull off the upset, the more I started to land on Mana Martinez and try to just really investigate how it could go on. And, you have Mana Martinez facing a guy in Ronnie Lawrence coming from the Dana White's Contender Series where he looked absolutely incredible, tons of pressure, good pace, relentless wrestling. But I wanted to really dive into Lawrence's record. And on the regional scene, he's had some soft opposition, and he hasn't really faced some people with some tremendous KO upside. And Mana Martinez, if he has anything going for him, it's that he's an excellent knockout artist, a really good knockout artist. And Ronnie Lawrence hasn't faced someone with a KO percentage above 75% until he fought Steve Garcia, in which he lost that fight via decision. Mana Martinez, his KO percentage for his record sits at 89%. It's the biggest knockout threat Lawrence has faced besides Garcia. And on the Dana White's Contender Series fight, Ronnie Lawrence fought Johnson, who only had a 57% KO percentage. And I'm just interested in a guy in Lawrence who has struggled with his weight sometimes. And if a wrestler gets too fatigued and they are, they really go too fast early on in the fight, they could be a sitting duck for some big shots. And just Mana Martinez having that KO upside, working with James Krause, I got to a little bit of Mana Martinez. I'm not going to lie. Like, that is my biggest dart throw on the entire slate. I'm just going to take him a little bit more than the field and in hopes that he comes through for some of my big lineups, because that salary allows for a ton of flexibility to get some of these awesome top dollar options.
I'm glad you mentioned about Mana Martinez working for James Krause. James Krause is the lead corner for Mana Martinez in this one. I had him on my show 2 weeks ago, and he talked about the first half of his camp he spent at Glory MMA and Fitness, of course, his main gym, Metro Fight Club in Houston. That is the gym that was operated by Saul Solis, who passed away last year. So he spent time up there with James Krause and that entire crew. And look, there's a lot of people right now going to James Krause's gym. They may not be doing a full camp there. They're going there for a week, 2 weeks. A lot of people really like what James Krause is doing over there. One of the things that I've been kind of debating on with my lineups, and especially the more the lineups that I'm hand building, single entry multiplier, type lineups, is Ronnie Lawrence versus Carlos Ulberg at 8,900. Ronnie Lawrence, I think, has an extremely high ceiling because of massive amount of takedowns, control. But man, I just feel better about Ulberg going out there and getting the win, because look, if Mana Martinez is going to get the win against Ronnie Lawrence, it is via knockout, Pete.
Yeah, 100%. And you think about that for Mana Martinez, but also it's in his hometown, as mentioned on your amazing podcast, the MMA Report. I was listening to that awesome interview, and Mana Martinez being in front of his hometown, I think could raise the stakes a little bit. Maybe he could get a friendly scorecard, especially in the day and age where You have judges valuing damage over activity and control a lot. But the Carlos Ulberg one against Ronnie Lawrence is interesting to me because you have an early knockout candidate in Carlos Ulberg against tremendous wrestling and grappling upside for Ronnie Lawrence. Yes, I'm still getting to Mana Martinez, but let's just call it how it is. Ronnie Lawrence's best game plan is to just take people to Takedown City and ragdoll them throughout throughout the fight. I don't really know if he can do the same thing that he did against Vince Cachero to Mana Martinez, whereas Carlos Ulberg, I hope Fabio comes through, but I mean, let's call it how it is. Fabio has not had the best luck under Dana White's Contender Series or in the UFC. Second round knockout defeat to Alexa Kamer, first round submission defeat to Alonzo Menefield, first round knockout defeat to William Knight. So if the UFC is looking to get somebody a win and get them in the win column, especially in a marketable fighter, I think that Carlos Ulberg matching up against Fabio Cherant is what the UFC is trying to do, right? We're trying to put our minds into the matchmakers' minds. And I can see where Carlos Ulberg has great volume. I mean, even in just round one alone, Carlos Ulberg threw 120 significant strikes against Kenny Nzechukwu. In round two, he threw 107. He ended up getting finished in that fight because he just started to fatigue himself with that relentless pace. But man, I'll tell you what, that knockout threat and that increased volume is definitely intriguing for a fighter that sits there at 8,900 in Carlos Ulberg.
Yeah, I mean, that's the debate that I am going through for all of this. Of course, if you do got any questions, line those up in chat. We will get to those as we do go on. Someone's asked me earlier about, are there fights or fighters that I am fading? And in GPP, there is one fight that I guess I'm just going to make the stand that I'm not getting there. And that's Andre Arlovski and Jared Vanderaa. I just don't see that as a GPP fight. And look, and I very well could be proved very wrong at some point. Like if you tell me one of these guys ends up being optimal, I think it's more likely that's Jared Vanderaa, just based on what we've seen with Andre Arlovski over the past couple of years. But that is one fight that, in terms of GPPs, I just don't want to get to.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty honest with you guys. Like if I don't have a good read on a fight, I'll say it. I'm not going to lie about something. And if I had a bad call, I'll admit it. Same thing with Jason. And for me, I personally don't think that this Jared Vanderaa and Andre Arlovski fight's going to be a part of the optimal lineup, just given the nature of Andre Arlovski, kind of having like a lethargic but constant pace, whereas Jared Vanderaa is just reckless. And I don't know, man, he had one good fight against Tafa, and now everybody's thinking that he's going to get a finish over Andre Arlovski. The value's there, like the price range is right. If he gets in top position and he, can incorporate ground and pound similar to how he did in the Contender Series, sure. But I just feel like Andre Arlovski, had like a somewhat of a resurgence in the UFC as he's gotten older. And yeah, he lost to Tom Aspinall. But outside of that, like Andre's looked pretty solid. So give me Andre Arlovski in an ugly, non-optimal fight.
I will tell you that there were some prop bets that stuck out to me. And one of them that really stuck out to me earlier today, I'm going to pull up to see exactly where the line is right now. It's a under 2.5 round prop on a female fight. And we all know statistically that is a prop bet that more times than not is going to land on the over. But I do like the under 2.5 rounds in Casey O'Neill and Roxanne Modafferi. And as I look across the board, it ranges anywhere from plus 150 all the way up to plus 179. That's a prop bet I really like today. I think this is, look, Pete, unfortunately for, 99% of fighters, when they say this is my retirement matchup, it's not going to go their way. I don't think it's going to go Roxanne's way. The other prop bet that does stick out to me is Derek Brunson wins via decision. I'm kind of scared about this one because I feel like I am overweight on Derek Brunson as a underdog play here. But Derek Brunson via decision anywhere from plus 225 to plus 280. But I do know there is a prop bet that Pete really likes today.
Yeah, so I'm going to get to the prop bet in one moment. I just want to touch on something that you brought up. And, Roxanne Modafferi is very tough. So I feel like the bookies and just the Vegas in general just thinks that, her toughness is going to play out forever. And yes, this is her last fight. I'm favoring Casey O'Neill significantly, but I feel like there's definite potential of Casey O'Neill getting a finish. Roxanne can get taken down multiple times, and she can get ground and pounded a lot. She's kind of squeaked out some fights where I thought she was on the verge of getting stopped. So I like that sneaky play in that Casey O'Neill prop in the under in that fight. It's kind of going against the grain by saying that, but I'll tell you, one of my favorite props on this entire fight card, and I'm seeing a lot of people, dumpster diving and talking about Rojo, and I don't hate Rojo, but the issue is that Rojo throughout his career, he's been submitted 4 times and he's been knocked out once. And that was against Charles Jourdain. But even on the regional scene, you see Marcelo Rojo get put in bad positions and puts himself in bad positions by getting just a little too sloppy and leaves his neck out there. And he's actually pretty quick to tap. Now, if you go and you dive into Kyler Phillips's record, he only has 1 submission victory, but Kyler Phillips via submission sits at plus 500 for a guy coming off an upsetting defeat where against Raulian Paiva, he looked incredible, super aggressive, pretty dominant combinations, good grappling sequences, strong takedowns. Like it looked like he was finishing them within the first 2 frames. Now he's coming off with defeat, and I think he wants to get back into the win column, obviously, in the safest way possible. And probably the easiest way of doing that against a dangerous Rojo is close the gap, put him on his back, and work towards submitting him pretty quickly. So Kyler Phillips via submission sits at plus 500 over Marcelo Rojo, my favorite prop of the day.
Of course, there are props that you like. Hit those in the chat. We'll talk about those. Of course, we do got a great promo going on right now over at Awesemo.com for Awesemo NASCAR coverage, where you can get, when you use the promo code Green Flag, you get an Awesemo Plus yearly pass for $70. Yes, $70 for a full year of Awesemo Plus NASCAR. That is less than $2 per cup race this season. You do got to use the promo code Green Flag to activate that promo. Of course, myself and Chris will be here next Sunday for our Live Before Lock show for NASCAR Live Before Lock for the Daytona 500. Of course, get a season-long NASCAR DFS package for just $70. Use that promo code Green Flag there to take advantage of that. And this offer does expire on February the 20th. But Pete, of course, we are here to answer any questions that the listeners do have. Let's first start off with favorite underdog. For me, it's Derek Brunson.
Ooh, favorite underdog. What's the price range we're going at? Anything?
I'm saying 8,000 below.
Okay, Jacob Malkoun.
I'm sorry, bro.
You think Dobson, huh?
I like Dobson, that one.
Okay, I really like Malkoun.
Now, the one thing that does concern me about Dobson is recklessness.
Mm-hmm.
That's one concern I do have.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like how Malkoun's been tested against an equal, if not more, dangerous KO threat, and that was against Al Hassan, and he passed that with flying colors, landed 8 takedowns, just did not stay on the outside and strike with him, just pressed him against the cage. And I understand Dobson's got skills, and he's a very, very dangerous KO threat. I just feel like he hasn't been tested for 15 minutes, or we don't even know how he's going to look outside of the second round. So I just want to see Dobson a little bit more tested. I'll favor Jacob Malkoun.
Dave says Brunson, Diamond, Dobson, O'Neill, Tuivasa, Lawrence. Just realized I faded the main event. Not smart, I don't think. Look, I will say this, more times than not, I'm rarely fading the main event. And this is one of those things, or prioritizing the main event, I think is a better way to sum this up. I am not prioritizing the main event today because this is a fight that look, I do think Izzy's going to win, but I just don't know from a fantasy perspective if he's going to be optimal at that price tag. I will tell you, so I was doing my multi-entry crunches earlier today.
Yep.
And when I started kind of, working it out there, I was getting way too much Izzy. I was getting like 60% Izzy. I'm like, this is way too much. I reduced that exposure to 30%. Look, if Izzy's going to be optimal, to me, he's got to get a stoppage in the first or second round. But the problem with Izzy is there's just not enough volume there. I don't mind if you sit there and say, because we do have 14 fights to choose from, that you just say, you know what, I'm just not going to prioritize the main event.
Yeah, so I agree with you, and I wouldn't label the main event as a priority. I do have exposure to it, and I'm favoring Adesanya in the bout. The one thing that makes me hesitant about, really getting aggressive with the main event this week more so than other weeks is just how we've seen Adesanya in the 5-round nature. If he doesn't get the early finish, how he doesn't really score the best against Marvin Vettori. Only scored 85 fantasy points, and in a fight where Marvin Vettori looked to close the gap and try to, attempt tremendous amount of takedowns. I really see Robert Whittaker trying to incorporate a lot of takedowns this fight. In another 5-round bout against Yoel Romero, only scored 49 fantasy points. Now, these scores are not the standard moving forward. If Adesanya picks up a ton of knockdowns, that's where I think his score can get boosted. So make sure you have exposure to it. I wouldn't go full fade. I would just, for me, I'm a little light on the main event, more so this week than other weeks. But in a 5-round fight against Kelvin Gastelum, where Adesanya had 4 knockdowns, it went the distance, and he ended up scoring 117 fantasy points. So it's definitely possible, but he needs a lot of things to go right if he doesn't get an early finish.
Spencer asking about favorite cheap plays and MVPs over on FanDuel. When it comes to cheap plays, the guy that I will tell you that I've been looking more and more at over the past couple hours is actually Alexander Hernandez at $13. Pete, you brought up a great point to me earlier today, just the power that he does have at 155. Moicano has looked much better at 155, not cutting all the way down to 145 pounds. Now, in terms of favorite MVP plays over there, I look at someone like a Carlos Ulberg. Jeremiah Wells to me is another one, just because, look, Blood Diamond obviously has a kickboxing pedigree, ton of kickboxing matchups, but this just comes down to, yes, he could very easily catch Jeremiah Wells, but I'd much rather have the well-rounded mixed martial arts as opposed to someone who essentially is one-dimensional.
Yeah, for sure. And the reason I was really deep diving on Jeremiah Wells is just because I wanted to see how aggressive he is early on in the fight. Because anytime you have a 9,000 fighter, we got to, rank them, so to speak, where you want to see how early are they aggressive. And in his fight, his debut against Warley Alves, Jeremiah Wells attempted 3 takedowns and had 3 minutes of control time. So I really think that he can do the same thing in this fight against Blood Diamond. And if he goes out there with an aggressive grappling approach, or even aggressive striking into grappling, he's going to pay off that 9,100 price tag. And he's one of my favorite fighters on the slate. I'm going to let everybody else pick Blood Diamond just because he's got a cool name and a cool nickname. I'm not really buying into it. I think that this is not even from what I've seen from Blood Diamond, good kickboxing. I still don't know if he's really a better kickboxer, a better striker than Jeremiah Wells, just because Wells has some extreme power, and he just has that amazing grappling pedigree to really bank on if things get ugly. So 9,100 Jeremiah Wells, one of my favorite on the slate. And I think that he could end up taking Blood Diamond to take down City. So the sky is the limit.
Andrew bringing up the thought process of the lack of options here in the lower end here, saying it seems like none of the 7K options even has a chance outside Tuivasa's sloppy shot. Does it mean that 40 points from Roja could be optimal?
So you would need a fighter in a loss to score a lot. And yeah, it could happen. I see a gigantic hole in Rojo's grappling. A gigantic hole, and he's going up against Kyler Phillips, who's a BJJ black belt. And even though he doesn't have a tremendous amount of submissions on his record, he has a ton of takedowns in his UFC tenure. So I think it's just a matter of time before he gets submitted. So I feel like Rojo is going to be the guy everybody goes to, and not many people are going to want to target Amana Martinez or, anything. I tell you that the dumpster's ugly, right? We just got to get a little bit more aggressive than the field on some of them.
Sean do you think O'Neal scores enough to meet her price point if she doesn't get to finish the fight early? I think if for her to pay off that price in a decision, it just comes down to multiple takedowns and control time.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's going to pay it off normally. I just don't know if she'll pay it off in regards to this slate, because there are so many good options. Like, I like Casey O'Neal. I like Phillips. I like Jeremiah Wells. I like Ulberg. There are tons of points to have. So 9,500, that $500 savings could end up working out if you go a little light and you go a little contrarian. I feel like a lot of people are going to view Kyler Phillips as probably the ugliest. Probably one of the ugliest options for the 9K options. If you just kind of look at his box score, 73 in a win, 98 in a win, 91 in a win, usually not paying off that 9,300 price tag.
Yeah, you're definitely looking for triple digits in terms of that, because let's just be honest about it. Like, if you're playing in the big GPPs today, the fact is that, you're going to have to hit on somebody who is lower owned. That's why, I think Alexander Hernandez is kind of an interesting potential play there, which someone brought up the question of who scores more in a win, Bobby Green or Renato Moicano. I think in a win, I would probably say Moicano, because I think that if he wins, I think it is via a submission. The problem with Bobby Green is, outside of his last fight, he's been a decision machine.
Yeah, I'm actually going to say that for me, it's Bobby Green, and I think that he's a good striker. He has some good, offensive striking, good defensive striking, plays around, plays with his food a little too much. But in the past, in fights against Lando Venata, we have seen, Bobby Green go the takedown route. And I'm telling you, man, people sleep on Bobby Green's grappling. And I understand that Dan Hooker just, out-grappled Nasrat Haqparast. Bobby Green can do the same thing. He landed 4 against Alan Patrick, 2 against Thiago Moises, 3 against Lando Venata, 2 against Clay Guida. Like, the grappling upside's there. So I really like Bobby Green as a sneaky value. The Renato Moicano fight and the Alexander Hernandez, I have to be honest, I feel like I'm starting to favor Alexander Hernandez. And the reason is it's more, looking into the records a little bit more, looking at more tape, from Thursday, my mind has shifted a little bit. And I think that Alexander Hernandez, extremely inconsistent throughout his UFC tenure, has really good power, has really good boxing, accustomed to fighting at this weight class. Renato Moicano has been knocked out from guys at a lighter weight class. Now, could the knockouts been a result from poor weight cutting? Probably. Got knocked out against Rafael Fiziev. Okay, yeah, that's going to happen when you're fighting Rafael Fiziev, Chan Sung Jung, and Jose Aldo. If Alexander Hernandez landed some big shots, I think that there's tremendous upside. So I really like him here at 7,700, and I don't feel like the field is really getting to him. So he's kind of like a guy I really wasn't targeting at all. But in a fight where Renato Moicano is probably going to be looking to take it to the mat, I feel like Alexander Hernandez is in a sneaky spot.
No doubt about it. Next up, question about FanDuel Cash for MVP. The commenter saying getting a lot of Izzy on Fantasy Cruncher. Look, that's going to be because of the projection. That's why you're getting so much of Izzy. To me, I'd be looking to go in a different direction. I mentioned Carlos Ulberg. I think Ronnie Lawrence is someone that you got to put in there. Derek Lewis would probably be another one that I would look in there as well. Yes. But that co-main event, that is boom bust written all over it.
Yeah, for sure. We all naturally think that somebody's getting knocked out, right? Every now and then heavyweight matchups turn into staring contests, or they turn into, hugging against the cage. Now, it all comes down to the combinations and the recklessness in this fight. I'm thinking that probably 60% of the time it ends in a knockout, and I'm targeting that fight a lot. And I think naturally Tai Tuivasa is going to be one of the most popular underdogs on the slate, given his salary, given the other options and how ugly they are, and how it's heavyweight MMA and it takes one shot to really, just turn the tide.
Next up, Ulberg or Izzy on DraftKings. That's for me. I go the Carlos Ulberg route.
Yeah, it's Carlos Ulberg for me as well. Jason, we got 450 people in here. If y'all can hit that thumbs up, shoot a question into chat. We'll get right to you. We appreciate you guys.
Rank these 3: Tai Tuivasa, Douglas Silva de Andrade, and Mana Martinez. I would put them in that order.
I would too.
Look, Tai Tuivasa, the question you have with him is, can he do this against the top 5 of this division, as opposed to doing it against 10 through 20 of this division? That to me is the question mark. Look, one of your concerns is, we saw Greg Hardy light him up. and Greg Hardy was having a lot of success. I do think the leg kicks are a potential game changer in this matchup for Tuivasa. I mean, look, it's a fan favorite matchup. I mean, everyone loves Tuivasa. By the way, I don't know if you've seen this on Instagram at Shoeivasa. He's creating his own shoe for shoeies.
Oh my God, I love it. So smart. Jason.
Just don't take it out of a cup though.
Yeah. Jason, let me ask you a wild question, just because we have to address things that most people are not thinking of. Who has the better ground game, Tai Tuivasa or Derek Lewis?
Well,
who has the better wrestling? I'm saying Derek Lewis.
See, I would probably say Derek Lewis. Now, here's the one concern I have with Derek Lewis is when he gets put on his back, sometimes he just lays there. But then there's times when he can just literally just fling you off him.
Bro, he does everything like technically incorrect, and he's like, screw it, I'm standing up. Try to hold me down. But yeah, I just think that's interesting because we have seen Derek Lewis like land takedowns and even attempt takedowns. Like he attempted an inside trip against Chris Dawkins after he cracked him. And I was like, oh my gosh. And Derek Lewis even landed a takedown against Alexei Olenek, one against Blagoy Ivanov. It's just, if Tai Tuivasa is on his back, he's going to get ground and pounded into like the next planet. So I'm favoring Derek Lewis, but man, naturally I got the tons of Tai Tuivasa for my lineups.
Andrew asking about thoughts on Casey O'Neill's the MVP on FanDuel. I like it.
Yeah, for sure.
See here. There was a thoughts on William Knight. I mean, someone was asking me earlier about is the path to victory him getting a knockout?
Well, I mean, he hits really damn hard. That fight is more of a pass for me, though. Like, I feel like Maxim Grishin's going to be scared of the physicality of William Knight. William Knight needs to try to incorporate some takedowns. Grishin in the past, in his 9 defeats, has been knocked out. He's been knocked out from Magomed Ankalaev in round 4, Kenny Garner in round 5, and a round 1 against Shane Del Rosario. So there's definite possibility, and he hasn't really looked the best in the UFC yet. I thought he looked better in Dustin Jacoby, but his cardio really fell off late. For me, William Knight naturally is always he's always there. He's an adequate underdog, and that's kind of how I would label it.
Next up, Samuel says he's going to finish him. Do you believe him? Yeah, I just think it's more likely that the finish is going to come later on in the fight, Pete, as opposed to early in the fight.
Which fight are we talking about?
Izzy and Whittaker.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Doug says so many finishes, you might not need the main event. I think Whittaker makes Izzy think more about the takedowns because of his last fight. I mean, look, we have seen since their meeting back in 2019 that Robert Whittaker, he has scored 22 takedowns. I think in this matchup, because he has got a sizable reach disadvantage of it, I think to get those takedowns, Pete, it's going to have to be in a range situation where he's able to duck a punch and then able to take Izzy on the ground. I am sure his team has looked at the Marvin Vettori fight. I want to say Vettori got 6 takedowns in that fight. Of course, Jan Blachowicz, we saw what he was able to do with the takedowns. I am expecting a first round to be nothing but a feel out process by Izzy for him to see what changes Whittaker has made. I do not believe you're going to see the Robert Whittaker that showed up in 2019 and kind of fought very reckless in that matchup. So I will say this. I think that if you're hoping for an Izzy first round stoppage, I just don't see it happening. I think there's just going to be a lot of feeling out from both guys to try to see who is going to make the bigger adjustments, because we both know both teams have made adjustments from their first matchup.
Yeah, adjustments need to be made. You have to bring something new to this fight, or else you might have the same result in the past. Yeah, Vettori went 4 of 14 in takedowns against Adesanya. So, I mean, 10 takedowns were defended. Naturally, Adesanya has defended a ton of takedowns, especially in his early career. I mean, Derek Brunson attempted 7 in that fight a long time ago. I think that he definitely needs to include it. I just don't know if there's going to be tremendous amount of success. Robert Whittaker, though, did find his way into some of my lineups. And just because it's prioritizing main event, co-main event underdogs, one of the first things you should do every week. And it's a good value. I just still favorite Adesanya.
Pedro asking about advice for single entries. Single entries, everything I do single entry wise, I'm hand building. So for the most part, what today I'm doing is I'm looking at fighters 8,800 and above. I'm looking at getting the two of those fighters. Now, I mean, look, if you're trying to get a Ronnie Lawrence and a Casey O'Neill, the build does become a little tougher.
Yeah, it does.
But I did find a core build for me was Ulberg and Casey O'Neill. And then from that point, it's like, okay, I found myself getting a Derek Brunson, and then I knew I had to get someone else under 8,000. You got to look in that range. Alexander Hernandez, I think, is someone to pay attention to. Just because my guy Pete on Thursday talked me into Douglas Silva de Andrade. He kind of became someone that I was looking at. But I mean, look, it's that to me about single entry. It's about who you're built. What is your core lineup? How are you constructing that lineup? That's what it is for me.
Yeah, I mean, just finding that core, finding the one or two top end pieces, something in the middle that you can get behind. Usually that 8,200, 8,000 fights, extremely sneaky. That's why I ended up getting to a lot of Malkoun, just because of the grappling upside. I don't think that there are many people within that range that have that upside. In a 3-round fight against Razak Al Hassan, he scored 115. He landed a tremendous amount of takedowns, and he is an amazing grappler and one of the best values out there for grappling. It's just he needs to not get knocked out against AJ Dobson. But yeah, man, it's just like finding some people to get behind. The Silva de Andrade Morozov fight's a fight that I think naturally a lot of people might just kind of scroll past Morozov, and he has takedown upside in this fight against Silva de Andrade. I just think that the experience of Silva de Andrade, like his hips are fine sometimes. He accepts takedowns sometimes. It's weird. I was trying to like put my finger on whether he has good takedown defense or not, and it's inconsistent. Like he'll do the right thing, let's call 6 out of 10 times, and then those other 4, it's looking like he's just accepting it. Not really a submission guy to threaten with guillotines or anything like that. But Sergey Morozov has been knocked out in the past, and Silva de Andrade hits pretty damn hard, coming off a very, very nice knockout win. You could do worse than him. He's one of the best 7,000 values out there.
Of course, this is the also MMA Live 4 Lock shows. We're getting you ready for UFC 271. Of course, the lock time is at 6 p.m. each time. Of course, coming up after us will be NBA Deeper Dive as guys get you ready for tonight's NBA slate. Of course, we are sponsored by PrizePicks. Of course, you can get 1 free month of Also Plus Platinum when you sign up, deposit, and play over at PrizePicks. Of course, once you take advantage of that, you will get an email within 24 to 48 hours to redeem your free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. And of course, they have got a special going on for the Super Bowl. If Joe Burrow throws for 1 yard, you win $100. Cash in on this no-brainer offer with PrizePicks by clicking the link in the video description below and signing up with the promo code Awesemo NFL. That once again, promo code Awesemo NFL. And of course, you use that promo code Awesemo up to $100 instant first match deposit. And Thursday I talked about that fight time on Izzy, which was 24 3/4. If you didn't get that number, well, that number is gone. It is now down to 22. I want to say it's 22 and a half, 22 3/4. Not as an appealing fight prop over at PrizePicks, but I will tell you, in terms of fight time, the two unders that stuck out to me, Derek Lewis 5 minutes, and also Carlos Ulberg 7.5. Those were two that stuck out to me, Pete. On takedowns, just because I think she's not going to need 4 takedowns, I do like the under 3 takedowns on Casey O'Neill.
Wow. Okay. I mean, you think she's just going to quick finish her? She definitely could. But I mean, Roxanne, let's call it how it is. She's very tough. She can get back to her feet, which I think could be fantasy goodness for us. Casey O'Neill, I think, is going to crush that number. So I'm going to say more.
Really? Wow. Yeah. I
think so.
I'm an under on that one.
Okay.
I think she's going to get her to the ground, and I think you're going to see, the difference.
Well, yeah, because you think a finish is coming. If you don't think a finish is coming, then it's definitely more than 3 takedowns.
Oh, yeah, no question. I just think that the finish is coming in that one. Casey O'Neill, I hate to say this, she might be my most confident play today.
Yeah, I really like her a lot. I really like her a lot. I like Kyler Phillips a lot too. So it's kind of like a 1-2 punch.
Of course, be sure to check out PrizePicks. Get 1 free month of Also Plus Platinum when you sign up, deposit, and play over at PrizePicks. Be sure to check them out. Of course, you got any questions, line those up in the chat. Sean says, if Lewis Tuivasa fight doesn't enter early, do you think it's optimal? Could be a slow, sloppy fight. Yeah, I mean, look, I think if Derek Lewis, just because he's not a volume puncher, and if he does go the takedown route in this one, I think if he doesn't get a stoppage in the first,
I'm just imagining.
7.5 minutes. Yeah, I would say this. I think if the stoppage doesn't come in the first round for Lewis, yeah, I think it's very tough for him potentially to become optimal at that price tag. A Tuivasa finish in any round, I think, is likely going to make him optimal. In a decision, it's just going to depend on if any underdogs come in.
Can you imagine if like next week we're kind of doing our slate review and Derek Lewis took Tai Tuivasa to take down City? Goodness gracious, everything we know would just be complete opposite. I think that there is upside in the ground and pound of Derek Lewis is what's so intriguing about it. Outside of a finish within the first 7.5 minutes, I say no, the fight's not optimal. I just don't see it. It could just, be a second or third round KO, and it's just so low volume. That's the problem with heavyweights is the volume. And if it's outside of round 1, they're going to just have a first round or second round win with like only a couple significant strikes thrown. So I'm going to say if it's outside of round 1, it's not optimal.
Next up, sales guy over our Discord chat says, how do we feel about Blood Diamond? Izzy has been hyping him up like crazy. Well, of course he's hyping up. This is the guy. The reason Blood Diamond's on this card is because of Izzy. Yeah. But the
only reason.
Yeah. I mean, look, we saw this. You remember a couple, man, this was, I don't know, it had to be 6-7 years ago. One of Anderson Silva's like jiu-jitsu.
Oh, he was terrible.
Got in.
Oh, he's horrible. Yeah. He wasn't even like regional worthy. I forget who the heck. Who was that?
I forget his name, but look, there are times where a main event fighter gets fighters into a promotion because it's basically like, you got me, well, you got to take him in. I remember when Rampage Jackson signed with Bellator. You remember there was a core of all these British fighters who came in because Rampage was training over in England? Yeah, that's because it was part of the deal for Rampage to come to Bellator.
Nate Diaz did it as well for his guy, Chris Avila, I believe. Yeah. That kid's booty. He was not worthy of a UFC contract. And it just happens, man. Like, you're going to look out for your people. That's just natural. I think that Blood Diamond is not skilled enough to be fighting at this level. And Jeremiah Wells is one of the best guys on the slate. Whereas Carlos Ulberg is actually really, really skilled and happens to be teammates with one of the best guys that the UFC has. So that's why he has it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Kickstarter saying, he goes, do you guys think Blood Diamond will get more random ownership than he has projected? He's currently has some positive leverage, but yeah, it could change to negative quick with a couple points. I mean, the thing is, like, look, if he can keep the fight on the feet, he's got a shot. I don't think that Jeremiah Wells is going to go in there with a game plan of let me kickbox the kickboxer. I think Jeremiah Wells' mindset is going to be, I think you're going to see him try to push Blood Diamond up against the cage and then try to ragdoll him to the ground. Yeah,
I mean, Darren brings up a great point. He has 100 kickboxing fights, tremendous success. Yeah, but a lot of people struggle with the crossover into MMA. And what I've seen from Jeremiah Wells, and I know a lot of people that Wells has fought, and they're very good MMA fighters, not very good kickboxers, very good MMA fighters. And Wells has made quick work of them and gone right through them. And he's going to be aggressive with takedowns from the onset. So that's why I really like Jeremiah Wells.
Of course, appreciate everyone that's in here. Be sure to do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button. We do appreciate that. Of course, line up your questions in there. And now, favorite FanDuel single entry MVP, Lawrence or O'Neal? I would go O'Neal. Do you think the weight difference with William Knight gives him the knockout edge?
I didn't get that. Not really.
Here, as my Apple Watch apparently thought I was talking to it.
I didn't get that.
This is the thing, okay? When William Knight checked in on Tuesday in Houston, what was his weight then?
Yeah.
That to me would be the interesting to kind of give you an idea of where we would stand. Was he like 230 and then all of a sudden he couldn't get lower than 218? Or was he like 220 and he couldn't get lower than 218? That to me is the interesting dynamic of this.
Yeah. And also, like, when people miss weight, you don't know if they're really like hiding an injury and they weren't able to be as active throughout their camp as they normally were. So a lot of unknowns regarding that. There was a very long period of time where people who missed weight were actually victorious and quite victorious in the UFC. And it's been kind of the opposite since that. But I don't know, man. It's a fight that I'm okay with getting away from. But if I'm going to pick a side, probably going to side with the underdog in William Knight, just because there's so many nice options up top.
In terms of those top options, Bowden asked about our top 9,000 options over on DraftKings, mentioning O'Neal and Lawrence. I think that's why I would. Wells is right there to me.
Yeah.
But I would agree about O'Neal and Lawrence.
I really like Kyler Phillips. I think that he's getting just scrolled past. I'm telling you, because in that Holly and Paiva fight, obviously it didn't end in the first or second round. Like, it was very, very close to being finished. He would have had 120 points in that box score. It just happened to get stretched out a little bit. So I really like him. I think that he's a sneaky 9,000 option.
In DK late slate, more points. Izzy or O'Neal? Give me O'Neal.
Yeah, O'Neal.
Anyone know why Bobby Green was wildly heated at weigh-ins? That's my dude. That's love me some Bobby. Bobby loves to talk trash. Let's just say that. Yeah. Loves to, and in the fight loves to talk trash. James Krause was telling me about when they fought, and he's like, I loved it. He goes, man, I love when people talk trash to me in the cage.
For sure, bro. I just think I broke my chair. I'm over here and I was laughing at one of your comments. I think it just broke my chair. But yeah, I like Bobby Green. He's sneaky, and he likes to get into his opponent's head, and it's the game, man. That's why people like Nate Diaz.
Let's see here. Ulberg Cherant 7.5 fight time on PrizePicks over under. Yeah, that's definitely an under for me.
Yep.
Does William Knight missing weight by 12 pounds change your opinion on the fight? Here's where it potentially changes my opinion on the fight, Pete. I do wonder, is there some type of injury that did not allow William Knight to cut the weight like he normally would? I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying when I see someone miss weight by that much, that is one of my initial thoughts that comes to my mind.
Yeah, I mean, he comes from a reputable camp too, so and good management team. So it's like an odd circumstance to happen.
Pete, you need a booster seat, bro?
Do you see what's going on? I just broke my chair. I tell you, I keep sinking. I'm over here trying to talk, and the reaction to something, I'm over here arched up. Hold up.
I just look at the stream and I'm like, damn, Pete, you're pretty low on the shot now.
Yeah, freaking chair's broken, dude. This stream has it all, man. My goodness. Oh, damn.
We got Siri thinking I'm talking to her. Yeah. We got you breaking your chair. What's next?
Get us to 150 likes so I could get a new chair. Goodness gracious.
Let's see here. Tuivasa has zero interest in the ground. Yeah. Tuivasa has two interests in this fight. Knocking him out and someone throwing a shoe to him.
Yeah, for real.
I was joking about this on my show this week. If you're a beer vendor in the Toyota Center, right as these guys are making the walk,
so smart,
you literally go fuel back up, because there will be people doing shoeies in the stands if he wins. Or they're gonna be handing him the shoe to fill it up.
Listen, if any beer companies were smart, they would be trying to toss their beer into his hand, so it went viral as he's doing a shoey if he's victorious. So yeah, I mean, what a cool little niche he has developed, and I'm excited to watch that fight.
Yeah. What do you guys think of getting O'Neal and Lawrence, Ulberg and Wells all in the same lineup? Oof, with Rojo and Martinez as the final two on FanDuel? Oof. I'm just saying, if you go with that and that hits, you're optimal. You're taking it down.
Yeah, man, that's a lot of top end options and two super cheap fighters. You could probably get to a fighter outside of Rojo, if you think Whittaker has a chance, like I'd much rather get to Whittaker. That the salary on Whittaker is super, super cheap, especially for grappling upside. So yeah, I mean, two cheap guys allows you to spend up for a ridiculous amount of people.
Appreciate the super chats here. Corey says chances are Arlovsky can knock out Vanderaa. That would break the slate, right? I mean, look, I think if he's going to, if Arlovsky's going to get a TKO KO, to me, it's him taking Vanderaa down and getting the stoppage on the ground.
Yeah. He can knock him out. I'm not convinced Vanderaa is any good. And Arlovsky hits hard. It's just, I don't know. I might be wrong on this one, but I'm going to say that a knockout does not occur.
Also, Eddie, I appreciate you with the super chat as well. He says best two values on DraftKings and best two pay ups in a GPP.
All right. So best two values. I mean, if you do pound for pound value, Whittaker has to really be there, but I'm going to say.
Hate to sound like a broken record. Derek Brunson because of the takedown potential. Okay. As at 7,600. I mean, I think as a value play.
You're going there. I'm going to go Malkoun because of the takedown potential. Who's your second?
Second one that I would look at.
Probably Ty.
Yeah, Tuivasa. Yeah, just because
Hernandez
of what that ceiling is. In terms of pay up options, the ones that I'm trying to get to are O'Neal, Lawrence, and Wells. Those will be my top three pay up options.
I'm gonna go O'Neal. O'Neal, Phillips, and Wells.
Of course, one of the things that Pete and I love to see after the fights are over are those winning screenshots. Want to see that winning screenshot. Hopefully we can get an Awesemo member to go down and take down that big GPP tonight. Well, hopefully it's me. I'm just being honest.
I hope so too.
Then make sure I got to, I'm just saying, if you do win that 100K, set a good amount of money aside because Uncle Sam's going to come calling next year. Just saying. Just saying. But of course, I always like to profile some of those big winners that we have. Of course, what you need to be doing is rocking that Awesemo avatar on your DFS profile. Of course, you can get that at awesemo.com/avatar. Place in the top three of a contest with over 5,000 contestants, and then tweet your wins at Awesemo HOF. Only one free month can be awarded to a user per calendar year, meaning a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. And congratulations to A. Anderson 13 taking down 100K in an NBA contest there over on DraftKings. Also, Deck taking down first and second place NBA contest, taking down 13,000. Andy taking down first. Also, just for CJ taking down first in an NHL contest, and also DK taking down first place in an NHL contest. We'll love to see those winning screenshots following tonight's contest here for UFC 271. Do want to try to get in some quick hits here because NBA Deeper Dive is coming up here in a couple of minutes. Carlos, someone had mentioned, John says Brunson Vettori couldn't take Izzy down. That is incorrect. Vettori took, I just made sure, went back on the stats. He scored 4 takedowns in their last matchup. Cannonier knockout possible? That's a yes for me.
Yeah, that's a guy that we haven't really talked about at all. He's probably getting lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, probably really the guy that we're not really talking about. Sergey Morozov is also probably another guy we're not talking about either as well.
Same. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, Pete is definitely loving. He is on the Malkoun train time. Apparently, he's got a UFC fight kit somewhere in his house there, Malkoun.
I got to more Malkoun today because of the salary and the takedown upside. What do you want me to tell you? It gets a guy who's around one guy. So we'll see.
I totally get you. Someone mentioning Whittaker by 4th round rear naked choke. I don't see it. I don't see the submission coming, but man, if he does that, man, that would be an amazing moment.
Yeah, bet that. I bet you the odds on that are crazy.
Yeah, it has to absolutely be crazy. By the way, lock time is coming up here 6 p.m. each time, so just about 1 hour from now. Pete, it says, ask you like the under 70 significant strikes for De Andrade on PrizePicks.
Yeah, I'll say yes.
Let's see here. Try to get some other questions. Yeah, William Knight did take this fight on 2 weeks' notice, but the fact is, when he did take the fight, he knew it was at 205 pounds. He's got to cut that weight. So the question really becomes is why couldn't he make that weight? I mean, that's ultimately the question to have there. Adesanya by sub plus 2,000. Someone mentioned there in the chat. Of course, if you do have any other questions, you can hit us up in Discord. But of course, coming up next is NBA Deeper Dive. Pete, anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
No, I just want to say this was a fun stream as always, and appreciate the ongoing support. You guys are great. You allow us to do what we do. Good luck tonight. Win some money. Tweet at us. Let us know how you're doing, and enjoy the fights.
And of course, keep it locked here to Awesemo.com. Coming up next is NBA Deeper Dive, as guys get you ready for tonight's NBA slate. So myself and Pete will be in Discord tonight. So look forward to a great night of fights. And we will talk to you next Thursday for the Awesemo Strategy Show for next week's UFC card, which, well, we don't know the main event right now because the main event just got moved to another card because Rafael Fiziev is apparently having some visa problems. So have a good day, everybody.